up on Access Tech Live.
Accessibility in gaming, hacking for the holidays, and Stevens at CES in Amsterdam.
This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo. The latest in tech and accessibility every week. Follow us and get involved now at Access Tech Live.
Hey everyone, welcome along to another Access Tech Live. This time live with me, Stephen Scott, here in Amsterdam. I'm here at the Tate's Event and Art Park, and I'm here for CES Unveiled, the Consumer Electronics Show. More about that in a second. Let me bring in Marc Aflalo, who is... Are you at home, Marc Aflalo? Are you still at home? Why are you not here with me?
I don't know why I'm not there. I guess the big budget was spent on all those overseas trips. Amsterdam, what kind of flight is that for you from Glasgow, Scotland? A couple hours, maybe? Not even?
It is not even an hour. You're hardly in the air for an hour. It is an incredibly short flight from Glasgow, Scotland to here in Amsterdam, where I am so pleased to be here at the Consumer Electronics Show Unveiled. So let me tell you a little bit about this fantastic event, because some of you will know, if you follow the tech world at all, that the Consumer Electronics Show is a big event that happens every year at the beginning of the year in Las Vegas. So why am I in Amsterdam? Did I get the wrong flight? What happened? No, I am here because CES in the last few years has decided to expand into new areas, into new places, and in particular to learn about what's happening here in Europe, and in particular here in the Netherlands. Amsterdam is a global hub, and always has been, but especially at the moment for technology. So CES Unveiled is happening right now. In fact, just finishing up today. It's a single-day event, and we've had other events earlier in the year in Paris as well. So it's been a really interesting time just spending the day here, and I have lots to share with you and more to share soon as we welcome Brian Kaminsky here to tell us all about not just what's been happening here in Amsterdam, but to look ahead to CES and give us a little bit of a scoop, Marc, on what is to come at CES in Las Vegas in 2024.
I'm just a little bit jealous that you're there and I'm here, but it's okay. We'll call this a little friendly competition, and we'll see where I end up in a couple shows from now. Stephen, also joining us this week is Chad Leaman, the Director of Innovation at Neil Squire. He's going to be telling us about a new program that they've got going on. It's not really a new program, it's a recurring program for the holidays, which is pretty cool. So all that and more coming up this week on the show. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. It is a really, really exciting time, and lots, of course, to get into. But shall we start with the headlines, Marc?
Let's do it.
Now, Access Tech Live headlines.
So October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and thanks to Microsoft's Immersive Reader, LinkedIn will now support text-to-speech and real-time translations. A spokesperson says in honor of Dyslexia Awareness Month and National Disability Employment Awareness Month, it's providing users with more ways to digest articles and newsletters, and that new feature is available right now. Forza Motorsports released its latest first-person driving game this week, and our good friend Steve Saylor released a video explaining the game's new blind drive assist feature and how it helped him win his first race.
Deaccelerate and when to go back on the throttle. There's an off-screen coach that tells you what turn is coming up, whether it's a left or a right, a hairpin or a slight turn, and the severity of that turn, ranging on a scale from 1 being the tightest of turns to 6 being a less severe of a turn.
Left 2 long. Right 1 is left hairpin long. Left 4 long. Left 5.
So as you heard, Blind Drive Assist mode uses audio control to give the player precise information to help them drive, and not only drive, but compete in races. Steve goes on to explain all the different types of features and how it all helped him win his first ever race in the game. A very cool video that we'll post to our social media, so you can check it out on YouTube right now. It has been a week since, of course, we've been able to buy the Google Pixel 8 and the 8 Pro. Well, it's arriving today in everybody's hands. A lot of unboxings going on the internet with no big surprises. Of course, Android 14 will also be dropping sometime today, especially if you have a Pixel device. If you don't have a Pixel device, you got a Samsung or some other manufacturer, you're going to want to check with the manufacturer's website and see when Android 14 will be released for that device. Takes a little bit of preparation. Alongside Android 14 and the update and the new phones, of course, comes Google's new Magnifier app. This app is designed to make small, dimly lit, or even distant text easier to read. The app's going to work on the Pixel 5 phones or later, and it will present the user with a simple interface that lets you zoom in or zoom out using plus or minus buttons. And you can even use the shutter button on your phone, kind of like you're taking a picture, to freeze a frame and zoom in to see what's actually on the screen. There are other features to adjust contrast and brightness, as well as color filters, all to improve text legibility. The app is available in the Google Play Store right now, Stephen.
Well, yeah, I must admit I'm going to be downloading that on my Pixel 6a. I haven't got an 8 or an 8 Pro yet, but I have been asking Google if they'll send me one. I could buy one, but, I'm not going to use it. So why am I wasting my time? I'm not getting into that. Anyway, we did the whole Android versus Android thing last week. We're not going to do it again. I have to say that Forza story is so interesting as well. It makes me want to try these games because I saw a really interesting comment on Twitter the other day from a blind guy who bought a console. I think it was one of the Xbox consoles, and the games that came with it, all 3 of them that came and bundled in the pack, were all fully accessible to him. I mean, how cool is that we're at that stage? I think that's incredible that a blind person can just pick up these games and play them now. And, even a driving game. I mean, how cool is that? I'm driving, I can finally get my hands behind something other than a truck or a bus in a game. I can actually drive something that goes above 20 kilometers an hour.
We'll put you to the test. We'll put you to the test for sure. Stephen, it's funny that you bring up the gaming because we have a guest standing by. Makers Making Change is a very cool program from the Neil Squire, whose mission is to use technology, knowledge, and passion to empower Canadians with disability. And joining us right now from EA in Vancouver, hence the gaming reference, is Chad Leaman, who's the Director of Innovation at Neil Squire. Chad, thank you so much for being with us. Can you tell us where you are? I know you're at EA, but what is going on?
Yeah, we're at Electronics Art here in Vancouver, BC. Beautiful day in BC. I was actually just at the Game Accessibility Conference yesterday, and they were sort of doing that unveiling of Forza that you just showed. So very cool. We're doing a build-a-thon. We have a program, Makers Make a Change, and we create assistive technology for people. And today we're going to be building one of the devices from our library, one of our open source joystick projects.
That is so cool. And it's not the first event of its kind. You've been doing this for quite some time. So I've got to ask you, when you do an event like this, and obviously you want people to talk about it, and we're putting the focus on it right now, what do you want to accomplish at the end of the day? When today is done, what is the mission and will it be fulfilled?
Yeah, so when we have our build-a-thon events, volunteers come together and they help fabricate some of our devices. So today we're making one of our joysticks. We just released these. These are joysticks that allow alternate inputs. You can plug this into your computer, use it as a mouse, or you can plug it into your Xbox AC or your computer and use it as a joystick for gaming. So you think video game controllers are literally one size fits all. We have this range of joysticks that we're putting out, and it allows people to have a joystick where it works for them. And there are these different sort of topper pieces. So we've got the round bit. We have some that are sort of more goalpost shaped. Some just have that grip piece, finger ring ones. So really allow the input to be customized and work for the person. So we have EA staff coming here today, and we're going to be building a bunch of these joystick items.
At the end of the day, Chad, who's going to benefit from the joysticks that you're creating today? How are they distributed? Are they, stocking stuffers for the holidays?
Yeah, we're in the middle of a campaign that we've launched called Packing for the Holidays, and we're looking to build a bunch of assistive switches, alternate joysticks, as well as adapt a bunch of toys for kids with disabilities. The goals that have over 2,000 devices built and delivered to families, therapists, and rec centers across Canada. Over this last year, we set up a number of these game checkpoints where people with disabilities can go in and try the really wide range of assistive technologies available for gaming and figure out what works well for them. So this is a big event for us. This will actually mark our 10,000th item built through our open source sort of network, and having volunteers come together and build devices for us. So it's a really big milestone. It's great to celebrate it here at the EA today.
Now, you raised $28,000, if my information is correct, delivered 600 toys, 900 switches last year. What's the goal for 2023?
Yeah, our goal is 2,000 devices this year, over 100 different events, and close to 8,000 people volunteer hours to make that happen. So we're in the mad rush. We keep having people come forward, and a lot of this work's actually, well, we're here at EA today, ends up being done in schools. So we teach kids STEM skills, how to 3D print, how to build circuits, but we take that for that sort of social purpose. So we're adapting toys, usually cost about $5 worth of parts to make a toy accessible for Switch access. and it really opens up the opportunity for cause and effect and play for people. And the same as video game controllers, it allows people to have input and gaming opportunity where they otherwise wouldn't have. So we're really excited to work with our partners to get these in the hands of people that need them.
If someone wants to learn more, Chad, if they want to get involved, if they want to attend an event, can they? Is it public? And where do they find out all that information?
Yeah, if you go to the Makers Making Change website, makersmakingchange.com, you can look under Engage and there's an events listing. And we're continually publishing events. Some are in schools or in corporations that are more private. We do host a number of public events in libraries, community centers, maker spaces, and hack spaces. So if you're interested in hosting an event, please reach out. We would love to work with you. And if you're interested in attending events, we can plan something with you to make that happen. You don't need a bunch of skill acquired. We've taught kids in grade 5 how to solder, and they build it by the end of their 45-minute class. So you can learn those technical skills and really put them to work to have an impact for people with disabilities in your community.
That's amazing. Chad, every week we throw a question out to the audience. And since you're here, I want to take advantage of it, especially because Steven's over in Amsterdam. And I think gaming is a perfect segue into this because when it comes to the term nostalgic tech, okay, that could mean anything, but I think there's a lot of nostalgia, especially in gaming consoles and stuff like that. So today's question is, what piece of nostalgic tech can you not let go of? Something that's in a drawer that every time you clean, you're like, I can't get rid of this. Who knows what it might be? Is there anything that you can think of that you've got in your arsenal that you just can't let go of?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to pry that old 8-bit Nintendo over my cold, dead hands. I have that for sure. I got one of the new rebooted ones, so it's great. My son, so I don't have to blow the cartridges or whatever.
Yeah.
But, a lot of those earlier games are easier to access, right? It's just a joystick and 2 buttons, so making an accessible setup for those are easier too. But yeah, to play Mario or the old Zelda games, take me back to my 6-year-old self.
Chad, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I know you got a busy day ahead of you. It's only 9:11 in the morning there in Vancouver. Best of luck at today's event. And of course, at home, if you want to check it out on Twitter, on X, it's Maker Make Change, or the website makersmakingchange.com. And you can learn more about the Neil Squire program, obviously, makersmakingchange.com. Question of the day. We said it before. I want to know what you think at home. What piece of nostalgic tech can you not let go of? We want to know what it is. If you want to tell us why, go for it. If there's a story behind it, let us know. It is at Access Tech Live on all our social media. And of course, our email address, feedback@accesstechlive.com, and you can get involved. Coming up, Steven's back from CES Unveiled in Amsterdam with Brian Comiskey, the Director of Thematic Programs, after this.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. The latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
Back on Access Tech Live, Marc Aflalo in Montreal. I have to say that because Stephen Scott is joining us from CES Unveiled in Amsterdam. CES, of course, Consumer Electronics Show. You know it, in Las Vegas in January, but they do these little events leading up to it so that other companies could showcase their wares. And Stephen spent the entire day today, given the big time difference, going around to different companies, and we're going to showcase them a little bit later on in the show. Don't forget the question of the day, which is about nostalgic tech. We actually have a response here, Stephen, from the Gatzer, who said, I still have my audio cassettes from the 80s and 90s with a basic cassette player. So I'm curious to know what other people come up with. Let us know at Access Tech Live, of course. Stephen, you're standing by with Brian Comiskey, who's the Director of Thematic Programs at the Consumer Technology Association, the company that's behind CES. Tell us what's going on with Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I'm here with Brian, and Brian, great to have you here on Access Tech Live. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, so tell us why are we in Amsterdam? Tell us about this. Explain to us why CES is here.
Well, first of all, innovation is global. It occurs across the entire world, and AI has been a massive subject of innovation over the years. So this partnership with World Summit AI made complete sense in the sense of being able to tell the story of innovation and how AI will fit into a bunch of different technology trends across the board. And we've been coming to Amsterdam now for 6 years. So we really have just enjoyed so much of the city, and Dutch innovation has been a major part of the show. And so it's just wonderful to be here. This event's a lot of fun. And so happy to be in Amsterdam, and personally for the first time for me. So it's just a lot of excitement.
And we're not going to touch on the fact you're vacationing here straight after, right? Yes, I'm just going to ignore that. We'll move on from that because that is fantastic. And I strongly encourage you to do the canal trips because they are wonderful.
Got one booked.
Look, it seems like we shortchange people if we don't talk about AI these days because everyone's talking about AI.
Yeah.
But it is a huge theme
Certainly.
Going forward, especially into 2024. Tell us about the innovations we're going to see in this space.
Of course. And so, AI has been the subject of a ton of excitement this year, rightfully so, because I think ChatGPT has been so innovative because consumers really got a tangibility of AI now, where you put in a query and you get a result. So they're interacting it. But the AI ecosystem is just so much larger. It ranges from chips all the way to robots. So CES is going to be a story showcasing, we're going to have chip makers like NXP Semiconductor, AMD showcasing that innovation, all the way to robotics firms showing how they improve your daily lives. And this is because at its core, artificial intelligence is what we would call a horizontal trend. It means it touches and cuts across every industry vertical. And that's what's powerful. Trends that are horizontal, like AI, sustainability, and accessibility, cut across every single industry. And so you need to track them, and they're going to be transformative for daily living.
Well, it's been interesting in my journey around here today. I've been talking about the fact that accessibility doesn't it? It cuts across everything, but so does AI. That's a really important point. And of course, we're seeing this appear through products like ChatGPT.
Yep.
And that will, of course, continue to grow. But it's starting to turn into the world of robotics as well. It's coming into these new areas. So it's not just going to be a text chatbot we're having a conversation with in 5 years. It will be an actual thing that is moving around, perhaps even talking back to us.
Exactly. Well, when you think about what's powerful about the tools powering generative AI right now, it's those large language models. And unlike robots in the past, which while incredible, it's input output. You need it to do a certain thing, it will do that output. If it encounters an issue or a challenge, though, it's going to have a hard time adapting. Large language models allow for novel ideation and creation. So if a robot encounters a challenge in the future, it can come up with a solution that's learned from these models over time. And so that's something where, Boston Dynamics has appeared in the past on the show floor. Starness Technology was here today, showcasing how that's going to help logistics and supply chain. And so it's just going to be quite incredible what robotics are going to do for the next few years. Walmart, our keynote speakers, also talking about they want to automate so much of their logistics centers by 2026. And so the focus is going to be naturally, how do you use AI inventory management, but also fulfillment logistics robots.
I did see that as a theme here, that there's a lot of companies talking about this, how robotics can be used in logistics, because of course the biggest cost to industry is moving things from A to B, right?
Yeah, right. Well, we live in a global environment, and I think the pandemic was a stark reminder of you can just-in-time inventory systems can be heavily hit by disruption. So if you have the ability of automated solutions and better AI tools tracking it, logistics and supply chain is going to be a major beneficiary of just automation in general.
Yeah. Let's talk about healthcare.
Of course.
Because another huge area going forward at Las Vegas in 2024, but also here in Amsterdam, again, healthcare is a huge area of interest. And interesting because I saw a company, for example, today that can 3D print medicine.
A doser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, is that real? Is that a thing? But it is. We're at that stage.
And we've seen breakthroughs in the past. Some of the first approved 3D medicines I know came out into the market in the States a few years ago for approval. So it's natural that you see that diffusion of one area into how does it get to consumer. And the story around healthcare at the end of the day is, and I talked about this on stage, is it's going to be more personalized. So how do you get patients to be focused on not just as one condition in a silo, to treat them systematically? And part of that is remote patient monitoring solutions. So we saw that from some of the companies that were working on remote patient monitoring around COPD.
Yep.
Accessibility, which is not necessarily just, how can you get with limited access? Telehealth and 3D printing will ensure no one's left behind from healthcare, and found it's going to be more intelligent. So AI is going to really benefit digital health. And so like Health Plus AI, who is here on the show floor, they're using AI to predict the risk of infection after surgery, because usually you don't identify a risk of infection. It's not identified until 5 days after surgery. That's a long time to be possibly suffering. So in that case, you're reducing hospitalization rates and, importantly, cost as well. So really personalized, accessible, intelligent is the name of the game in digital health right now.
But actually, it's preventative care as well.
Exactly.
So you mentioned about COPD, because that company was really interesting. It was AIMS, wasn't it? The company that focus on creating this tool that can essentially sense when someone may be about to have an attack.
Yeah.
It's incredible that you can get preventative care and get medical help to you.
And that's the point, right? Because that's about that access to care. I think about, a lot of innovation occurs and for hospitals especially, and a lot of that is in urban areas. But I'm from a state in the United States called New Hampshire. We're smaller and we do have a city, but when you get more rural, it's harder to get that access immediately. So remote patient monitoring, those are the tools that I live in Washington now, but I think always about technology back in where I'm from. And so I'm like proud to see a lot of innovation that addresses suburban, urban, and rural, because again, it's about access holistically.
Yeah. When I think about CES, or when I think about the Consumer Electronics Show, I always think about flying cars. And I think about the smart home. And every year, it seems like the smart home is getting a little bit smarter. But every year, I feel it moves incrementally. What's happening next year? What is coming down the line in terms of the smart home movement? Because we've heard about the Internet of Things, and we buy a smart bulb, we buy a smart plug socket, or whatever it might be. But how is it moving forward? And please don't tell me it's another AI option, is it? Is it AI again?
AI will appear in it, because ultimately, right? AI is going to be everywhere. Well, it's horizontal. It cuts across and improves our lives, especially like if you're, say, using a smart energy management tool, that's not just designed to use AI to follow your preferences, but you can usually have AI help monitor your costs. And a lot of places are facing cost of living, especially energy crises. That's a huge element for AI and smart home to work together in the energy space. But let's take a step back to smart home itself. And I like what you said about incremental. It's one of the best technology examples of how technology as core, while revolutionary at times, is also evolutionary, where it's iterative. You keep building. And with smart home, I think we're going to see further maturing of smart home security systems, energy management solutions, and then how do even smart TVs operate as the center console or smart hub of your entire home. And we saw last year the unveiling of Matter, which was a standardization protocol, because a big thing consumers really want to see is, how do I have a device from one company work better with a device from another company? And building these standards together is going to allow for seamless living that's easier for folks, but also hopefully cheaper too. When it's communicating, you're getting better tool usage out of it. I think the Venetian Expo, where you're going to see a lot of the smart home tech at Vegas this year, is going to be just so much fun, because you always see the iterative, but then you get surprised. Like last year, Bird Buddy was one of the biggest hits. It was a smart bird feeder that had an AI camera that would tell you what type of bird it was that flew to your bird feeder. What is novel about it is it touched on curiosity.
Mhm.
I work in research, so curiosity always is driving me. Every time I see a bird, I go, what's that? Well, that's a tool that tells me the answer. Wonderful.
That's, I think, the most fascinating thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? That it is, we're at a stage where technology is moving on to such a degree that it's allowing us to have such interesting conversations and interesting products as well and projects. Absolutely fascinating. Listen, Brian, thank you so much for coming over.
Of course.
Come back soon.
Please.
Tell us more as, of course, events develop.
Anytime, Stephen, and thank you so much for coming here, and we look forward to getting to Vegas for CES.
Oh, absolutely. I'm ready. Brian Kaminsky joining us, of course, to talk all about CES coming in 2024 to Las Vegas. Some really interesting trends.
Get all set for Vegas, Stephen. You'll get it done. Thank you again for doing that. Thank you to Brian. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, of course, the question of the day: what piece of nostalgic tech can you not let go of? And we're going to talk to some of the companies that Stephen had an opportunity to meet during the day today at CES Unveiled in Amsterdam. Stick around.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. The latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
Back on Access Tech Live, Marc Aflalo in studio, Stephen Scott not in studio. Not jealous at all, Stephen, at all that you're in Amsterdam, even though it's only an hour flight. Thank you, of course, for being with us on show number 5 of Access Tech Live. Question of the day, if you haven't been paying attention, and the reason I'm going to bring it up is because someone here on YouTube who's watching says that Stephen is not going to go to Vegas. What does it say? Oh, I'm going to dream I'm going to let you go to Vegas. That's kind of funny. What piece of nostalgic tech can you not let go of? Tim Dixon says Stephen's probably going to say his iPod. I don't know. Is that what you're going to say, Stephen?
iPod?
Yeah.
Do you know
the original?
I'm yeah, I know. I've actually got, funnily enough, I recently bought an iPod and a very old MacBook Air to go with it because the newer MacBook Airs didn't connect to it. So basically, I had to buy an old 8-year-old MacBook Air to go with my iPod. I know, utterly ridiculous. But you know what? I love the clicky wheel. I like the clicky wheel thing.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you would. Tell me something. You're in Amsterdam, long day. Obviously, I'm sure you're going to follow the floor collapsing and tired after this. How do you pick which companies you want to go see when it comes to an event like this? Because there are hundreds there on that show floor.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with CES is, although they often do have, especially at Las Vegas, they do have an accessibility area. So, immediately I'm drawn to that, right? I'm looking at companies that are going to be talking about accessibility from that unique perspective they hold. It's a bit different here at Amsterdam because you have a list of companies, and what I'm looking at are what you might call accessibility adjacent companies. So some companies clearly, one we're going to be speaking or hearing about today is Retinoscope, which is clearly doing work to try and prevent vision loss, which is really interesting. But also there are many products out there. Now, we talked, of course, with Brian about smart care, which is becoming more and more prevalent in our world today, where, more people want to remain at home. So we want to get into that discussion as well. So there's lots of companies here that we can talk to who really give us an interesting flavor when it comes to the kind of work they do. And also, I think, is what I call accessibility adjacent. And I'm copywriting that.
Oh, you do that. You do that. One of the companies that you had an opportunity to meet is WISP, WHISPP. Let's learn more about the company, then we can talk about it, Stephen, here.
My name is Joris Kastemans. I'm the founder and CEO of WISP. WISP develops assistive voice technology that converts whispered speech and vocal cord impaired speech into a person's natural voice in real time. So you can make phone calls with our calling app, and it's meant for people with a voice disability, for example, people with throat cancer, vocal cord paralysis, but also for people who stutter. People who stutter severely, like me. I stutter slightly, but as a child I was a more severe stutterer. People who stutter severely, they speak really fluent and relaxed when they whisper. So in this way, by using WISP, they can make relaxed phone calls. And in the future, we can use the smartphone as a live speech amplifier, which you could bring to, for example, a restaurant. Settings like this, it's really crowded, it's noisy, so you can amplify your voice in a really smart way. So we give people a voice again. So when people who stutter severely, when they whisper, they are really fluent. And this has been researched. So there are papers which state that the average stutter frequency drops with 85% when people who stutter when they whisper. So, and of course, we did research ourselves. We published a scientific paper about this ourselves too. And we learned that also on a mid-term, so not the direct effect of whispering, but also when you do it for a certain amount of time, the positive effect sticks. With our calling app, people can initiate a call, so they can choose the contact from the contact list, or they can type in a phone number with a dialer. And at that moment, of course, we are using in-stream real-time AI to convert the whispered or affected speech. So this is a real new product a category, right? So also from a point of privacy and security, of course, the voice cloning and spoofing examples. So we show a signal. An automated short sentence is projected for the listener, for the recipient, that the call is made with the WISP technology. The current WISP app is downloadable in Google Play and Play Store, and you can record and convert your whispered or affected voice, and it gets converted by our app.
Stephen, did you have a chance to go hands-on with that, or see a demo of how it actually worked? Because I can see this technology making its way into so many different devices.
Yeah, so we got a chance to learn from Joris how it actually works. And I did not know this, that apparently if you stutter, whispering actually, as Joris says, makes it a little bit easier to have that conversation, hence what he's tapped into here in this app. So he actually did that. He was using the app on his Android phone. He whispered into it and it came back, and we were able to hear back the results. And they were really interesting because it was so much louder, so much clearer. Now, I've been playing around with lots of tools recently in the audio editing process that we do for radio and everything else to, enhance audio. And this is something which Joris has been able to tap into. And I think it's really interesting because, of course, we've talked a lot about products like Vocal ID, and there are many others now. And of course, personal voice now exists on the iPhone, and there are other products coming out as well, which give us the opportunity, or give people the opportunity, to get their own voice back. Now, that's not necessarily fully what Joris is offering here. He's offering a text-to-speech offering, but he's offering it in a very different way, and, of course, helping people who stutter, which is incredible.
I can imagine that technology being used with something like personal voice, where it can understand what you're saying and then speak it in your personal voice that you've created. Very, very cool. Another company you landed upon was a Smart Care, and I'm going to spell it for you because it's spelled a little bit differently. It's Smart, Q-A-R-E. Tell us a little bit about the company before we hear from their CEO.
So Smart Care, it kind of follows on from our conversation with Brian. More people these days want to stay at home, want to live at home in later years. They don't want to move into residential care. Some people don't need to, but they do need to have something with them, ideally some kind of remote monitoring solution that allows that person to remain at home. And that is exactly what this product offers.
Okay, let's take a listen to, I won't pronounce his name, I'll let him do it for us. Here he is, the CFO of Smart Care.
Hello, my name is Jan-Hein Autenbrinke, and I'm the CFO of Smart Care. Smart Care is a medical technology company, and they developed a platform and a device to enable 24/7 monitoring of patients in the care and the cure market. Smart Care has developed a remote monitoring device, and it is quite a small device that is placed on the upper arm, and it measures all the vital signs of a human body. And one of the important benefits is that it works out of the box. So you just put it on the arm, they know it's working, and all the relevant information is passed through a, what is it called? It's a 5G, I don't know what it is called in Canada, but it's similar to a cell phone. And all the data is transferred to a platform, and people from a care company, they can monitor your performance just like an Apple Watch, but for an Apple Watch there's no one watching your data. Well, I am, or our company enables 24/7 monitoring. So if a patient is not feeling well at home, they can press a button and someone can give a phone call or come over to help the person that is in a certain need. And the interesting thing for people that try to stay home as much as possible and don't want to go to a hospital or a care institution is that all the vital signs can be sent to the care company. And while that is done, it gives a certain comfort to people. And that is a nice thing. And when people are really feeling ill, a doctor can look at the data and say, okay, I will come over to you, or other way around, you need to see a doctor, because the vital signs are deteriorating, for example. At the moment, Smart Care's product, it's called Victor, is available in the EU market. It is certified, it's MDR certified. And at the moment we are looking into ways to expand the medical certification in the US and, for example, Canada. But it's time consuming. We need to take a couple of hurdles to make that happen. But towards year end, we hope to submit the application. And then in the course of next year, probably the first quarter, we hope to be certified in Canada and North America. And hopefully we can enter the market there, because there are a lot of people actually using remote monitoring concepts. So it's a big market for us, and very interesting. And people are really used to working with the product already there.
Yeah, remote monitoring is so important, especially for people who want to keep that sense of independence. It is Access Tech Live. I'll get it out of my mouth eventually. Stephen is live at CES Unveiled in Amsterdam. When we come back, a couple more companies that Stephen had a chance to meet while in Amsterdam. Stick around.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
We're back. I am Marc Aflalo in Montreal. Stephen Scott live at CES Unveiled in Amsterdam. Stephen, it's almost, well, it's past dinner time for you. It's only bordering on lunchtime here. You're about ready to collapse, I guess, right?
Do you know, I actually feel good, and I've had a great day today. I really am glad I came over to Amsterdam for this, because CES is such a great event. And whether or not I get to Las Vegas or not, I don't know. But, you know, an hour's flight is quite a nice thing. And getting here to this particular event has been great. I have to say as well, you know, this is a small event in a lot of ways compared to obviously the huge event, the monster that is Las Vegas and CES. And in some ways, it's much more manageable, certainly to get around. I also have to give huge props to my wonderful assistant, Valerie, who's off to my left. So she's not going to come into shot because she will not come and say hello. But she's been absolutely wonderful. I want to also thank Joyce as well, who's been wonderful helping set us all up here. Everyone has been wonderful and kind and helping me get around. But, you know, it has been such a great event and a great chance to speak to some great companies.
Well, you sound like you're wrapping up, but we've got more time here. Okay, so don't go anywhere. One of the companies you mentioned,
I'm leaving it to you.
Yeah, exactly. One of the companies you mentioned to me earlier this morning that you thought was pretty cool was Retinoscope. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we've talked a lot about, you know, staying in your own home, preventing any kind of health issues, anything like that. We talked about that, of course, with Brian earlier. If we could prevent vision loss, that would be incredible. Now, we have many, many tools available to us already in the healthcare world that can prevent vision loss. There are lots of tools, but you have to be able to get to the ophthalmologist. You have to be able to find an optometrist, get an appointment, all of these things. And of course, you have to live in an area where that's available. But what if you could go to your local GP practice or go to your local healthcare provider, maybe even a pharmacy, and get your eyes tested, and at the same time, not just check for vision loss, but other potential illnesses as well. That is exactly where Retinoscope comes in.
Well, let's hear more about them right now.
Yes, hi, I'm Jan Boers from Retinoscope. We aim to change the way people are screened for vision loss. Because hundreds of millions of people are at risk for vision loss, and screening is not up to speed. So we want to bring solutions that will change that and allow people to be screened whenever they want, at whatever situation they are in. Yes, we started Retinoscope because we understood that volume screening is not happening. There are AI tools, and the companies that make AI tools, they asked us, can you make a camera that's much cheaper and much easier to allow us to do volume screening? At the same time, my father was suffering from AMD, so it was my motivation to really start this, both the market and why should I do this. So we started Retinoscope in 2018 and been working on products ever since. Yeah, with the proper image of a retina, you can find early stages of diabetic retinopathy, AMD, and glaucoma. Probably even before people have an idea that they have an eye problem. They may have other eye problems, but mostly the indication is a diabetes patient, because diabetes patients will very likely get DR during the course of their illness. We even found that this kind of screening can actually find diabetes patients that already have early onset diabetic retinopathy, but did not even know that they were diabetes. So that's something that can be very helpful if you do a large-scale screening, because half of the diabetes patients are not yet identified as the diabetes patients. So finding them will allow them to be treated earlier, which both for their diabetes but also for eye condition will have a lot of benefits. And as you know, the health system really needs to change the way we are working. We have to find patients early so that their quality of life will be better. But also the societal costs are very high. Just for vision loss, the societal cost, non-care related, is estimated to be 60 billion a year. So that kind of cost, societal cost, can also be reduced by earlier screening. First of all, availability. We have a device that's available from a few weeks from now. Just finishing up the certification, which is always a big hassle, but we are almost done, and then it will be available. And we are talking to quite a few organizations to do pilots, because we need to understand how to actually implement this in primary care, how to make it ubiquitous for everybody that wants, for any diabetes patient, to really get the screening instead of just talking about it.
Yeah, actions definitely do speak louder than words. Even another company that you had an opportunity to meet is No Watch or Now Watch, depending how they pronounce it. Let's take a listen.
Hi, my name is Michiel, and I work at Now Watch. It's a smartwatch that doesn't have a screen, but it's basically smart jewelry. So we built a stylish health tracker that focuses on stress mainly. So we're the best stress tracker in the world. And it also tracks sleep and movement. So in this fast-paced society, people are losing the connection with themselves. And we feel that one of the reasons for that is all this technology that is constantly like bombarding us with stimuli, basically. And we are connected with the outside world, so to say. So with calls and messages, and we're just all the time online, basically. But that's also why we lose the connection with who we are and how we feel. And we believe that this is a major reason for people getting burnout and getting sick because of all the stressors that they experience during the day. And so we built a device that is nice to wear, because you can wear this every day. You can actually take out the front of the watch and the wristband as well. And the technology is just inside of here. So it's really customizable per day. And it doesn't have the screen that distracts you, but it connects to an app, and that's where you can read your data. So Now Watch consists of 3 different parts. It has a case that comes in a gold, rose gold, and a silver coating. And it is a round watch. And basically you can add to that with 18 different straps. So these are leather straps, recycled ocean plastic straps, and these come in 18 different colors. And then on top of that, the watch basically itself is empty. So it is kind of a round watch, so to say, but the watch face is not in there. And in that watch face, you can add 10 different discs. So, and those discs are ranging from amethyst minerals to white agate, all kinds of other minerals, basically. And that make it really look like a piece of jewelry. And on top of that, there's 3 metal discs. And those are really clean, a clean surface, basically, from metal, also in these 3 different colors, gold, rose gold, and silver. And then at CES 2024, we're releasing 3 Chronos discs, and you can also add them to the watch, basically. And those will tell the time. So that will be a traditional watch face, so to say. And you can take all of those components apart, in and out, but the casing itself, that's where all the technology is inside. So that's what measures your stress, your sleep, and your movement. So Now Watch is shipping since the beginning of this year to North America and Europe. So we get orders from Canada all the time as well. And you can choose on our website, you can choose what configuration you want. And basically you can choose all the products. So then you will have 18 different, or no, even 150 different ways of configuring your watch. Or you can just choose one color, one strap, one disc. And that's all available on our website, and we ship within 3 days. The price, we're changing the price a bit, but so far it's starting from 399 euros. And depending on how many discs and straps you add, it can become more expensive. But so on average, our customers spend around 450 euros per order.
We're going to have to get our hands on that, Stephen, and give it a cool checkout and maybe a review down the road at CES in 2024. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, your answers to our question of the day. What piece of nostalgic tech can you not let go of and we wrap up from CES in Amsterdam. Stick around. It is Access Tech Live.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back. The latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo.
Stephen, I've got to ask you, you spent the day in Amsterdam. Obviously, you're going to spend the night tonight because you can't possibly lift yourself off the floor. Any takeaways? Would you do this again?
I would, and I'll tell you, one of the greatest things about this event is accessibility is no longer something that whenever you ask the question, hey, how's your product? Is it accessible to disabled people? You get that blank look from people. People know what accessibility is today. It is a serious part of everyone's development. And even those who don't know about it are interested in learning. So I have to say, it's been a really fantastic event. I look forward to Las Vegas, of course, as always, but I think these events are fantastic. And really, what the Consumer Electronics shows you do are more of these type of events around the world because they're fantastic.
Well, hopefully when our bosses see the bill for this one, they'll let us do it again down the road. We asked you a question. That question was, what piece of nostalgic tech can you not let go of? We got some pretty cool answers. Obviously, Tim wants you to get that iPod Classic out of the safe, Stephen. But Brittany, 1978, writes, I have an old rotary phone on the wall in our kitchen. I can't get rid of it as it's been here my whole life. It also has the longest coiled cable I've ever seen in my life. I remember that exact phone. It was probably on my kitchen wall when I was growing up as well. William in Kingston writes, a Nokia 8110 smartphone. Well, not smart, but he says, but it was the phone that Keanu Reeves used in the first Matrix movie. I thought it was so cool. I bought it from Europe. Okay, I like that one. I think I might have had it too. I'm not really sure.
I think I had
and
that
Jessica,
one,
Jessica 25 writes, my BlackBerry Pearl. Okay, I don't necessarily agree with that one. What can I say? It's going to go with me to my grave. I don't know. The BlackBerry Pearl, that was the one that didn't have the full QWERTY keyboard on it. It had like the abridged version, so it was just like having a regular smartphone, just with a little scroll wheel in the middle. I don't know if I'd take that to my grave or not.
She will take it to her grave because no one else will take it from her.
Yeah, that's probably the reason, or they just won't see it. If you had to name something, what would it be?
I'm going with the iPod, actually. That is the one that's probably the oldest. Yeah, I think it's the oldest thing I've got at the house.
I wish that I'd kept every single one of my smartphones to open like a cell phone museum, but unfortunately, I didn't have enough money to keep just buying and not reselling the old ones.
You gotta sell. Yeah.
I've got like the BlackBerry Classic that I think I'll never part with. I've got a Galaxy Note 7. Remember the one that exploded everywhere and they tried to recall them? Well, I have one of those lying around somewhere, and I don't think I've ever
I'd
turned
get
it
rid of
on. Would you? I don't think so. I think it's a perfectly good hazard to have. And I'm trying to think if
What
there's
could go
anything
wrong
else.
with that? Yeah.
Some broadcast gear that's kind of fun, but I don't think there's anything that I can ever not, part ways with. I think eventually I'm going to go through my house and say, chuck it, just chuck it all.
Yeah, just get rid. Yeah, I think we keep too much. Just don't look in the
We
loft.
definitely.
That's always the answer. Never look in the loft.
Stephen, thank you so much for making the trek all the way to Amsterdam. It was so great to have you in the field there and meeting some great companies. Maybe next week we'll talk about some of the companies that you didn't have a chance to speak to and we didn't have a chance to get to on this week's show. So travel safe home, and we will definitely talk to you next week. On behalf of everybody who was on the show this week, Chad Leaman, of course, Brian Comiskey, and Stephen Scott in Amsterdam, thank you so much for joining us and getting involved in the question of the day. We will catch you on our next episode of Access Tech Live.
Thanks for tuning in to Access Tech Live. Follow us online at all social media at Access Tech Live. Email us feedback@accesstechlive.com. Hosted by Stephen Scott in Glasgow and Marc Aflalo in Montreal. Written by Stephen Scott and Marc Aflalo. Live show director, Anastasia Spalding Stenhouse. Technical director, Caitlin Robinson. Audio, Jordan Mulgrave. Live graphics and playback, Kingsley Juco. Graphics coordinator, Eliza Rocco. Integrated described video specialist, M. Williams. Supervising producer, Michelle Dudas. Copyright 2023, Accessible Media, Inc.
An AMI original production.